FLOSSTUBE. Welcome to my channel, Stitching in South Jersey. My name is Debbie, and today is Wednesday, April 22nd, 2026. And this is my March stitching update. It is FLOSSTUBE number 18. So, welcome. If you're a returning viewer, thank you for coming back. I know that sometimes I can be a hot mess. So thanks for giving me second, third, 18th chance. And if you're new, welcome. This channel is primarily about cross stitch. I do crochet. I love to read. And sometimes I go off on these tangents. Sometimes, meaning a lot of the times. But mostly we are talking cross stitch. So welcome and thank you. So today's agenda is I have 8 whips from March, one of which turned into a finish unexpectedly. No new starts, and then we're going to talk about who I'm watching, plans, it's the little things, the things that I am grateful for, and love to hear what you are grateful for. And book talk and binge talk at the end. And there's a new segment. I actually filmed it, and my plan was to add it to the end of this video. I'm not sure. So if you guys want to chime in, actually I would like you to chime in and tell me if it's a segment you would like. It will not be at the end of this video. And I may even choose a different subject to start with. But anyway, let's get started. 2 minutes in. Here we go. So first, Mediterranean flavors by Dimensions. If you've been with me, you know how I feel about this one. I've come very close many times to putting it in timeout, but I'm really feel like I'm past the point of no return. I watch a lot of air disasters on Smithsonian Channel, and one thing I've learned is when the pilots are taking off and the co-pilot says V1 rotate, that's the point of no return. That's the point where it is too late to abort the takeoff, so the pilot must complete the takeoff. I feel like I'm at V1 rotate right here. And it's cute. I mean, it's cute. And here it is. Right? I'm literally halfway. So carry on. I mean, the fabric is like a Brillo pad, you know, like clean your bathtub with it kind of thing. And I think that is a huge part of what I don't like. So, but I'm at V1 rotate. Okay, next, Summer Sampler, Cooler Design Studios. Love this. I always give credit to Jessie Marie Does Stuff. She was working on this, I believe, in 2019 when I started watching her. FLOSSTUBE bitchy knows it is actually a thing. And she backstitches as she goes. I immediately had a habit. She backstitches as she goes. I do not. Here's where I am. Got all this done. Does not look like a lot of stitching. I found it to be a lot of stitching. And I love it. It's stitched on 16 count chamois. I don't know who chamois is made by. It was before I was keeping track. And I started this one September 2019, if I didn't say that already. Okay. All right. We're zipping right along, only 4 minutes in. Next, Route 66 Christmas Diner. This is by Design Works. Hate the chart, love everything else about it. Love the design, love how it's coming out. The chart is very small and a little difficult to read, and the beads or the French knots or whatever it is that she puts over the symbols, makes some of the symbols kind of hard to read, but It's coming out fabulous. And this time I worked on all of this gold color. I think it was $7.29. There was a lot of it. That's a lot of stitching. Doesn't look like it, but it really, really, really was. But it's coming out. I mean, no back stitching, no nothing. Look at that. It's dimensions worthy. Okay. Winter's Hush by Dimensions. Kit Everything. Started May 12th, 2020. Cannot express enough how much I dislike this fabric. I will never start another Dimensions kit with kit fabric. This is their gray, I guess. I'm not really getting the gray. It's like a blue gray. But it's coming out great, and I love it, but no more with Dimensions kit fabric. Just not happy with it. Next, Abstract Tulip Easter Egg by Artisy. This is stitched on 20 count Ivory Ada by Zweigart. Started 2/19/25. This was my first attempt at 20 count. And I love it, but whoo, it's a testament for the eyes. And as you know, if you were with me the last time, I am going through some growing pains with my contact lenses after many years of wearing lenses and being able to wear whatever. My eyes have now rejected the monthly contacts that I've been wearing forever. So now I'm wearing daily lenses. As a result of that, my eyesight is not as crisp as it was with the other lenses, making this a little bit more difficult. But it kind of is what it is, right? So, but it's coming out great. And I don't stitch a lot of spring. So the colors are just the orange and yellow and green and blue and pink, and I can't wait. So the next time this comes up on the wheel, I will be getting into more than just greens, hopefully, because I'm over green. Especially when you know you have all those colors coming, right? Like you don't really want to waste it all on green leaves when you know you have all these pretty colors in there. Next, you guys haven't seen this one in a while, and here's why. I forgot it for my whip parade, and I didn't feel like going to get it in the middle of the whip parade, so you never saw it. And it has not come up probably since last fall. So it probably came up early in my spinning of the Tiny Decisions wheel in the fall when I reset it, and then didn't come up again until the end of this rotation of the Tiny Decisions wheel. So it's probably been a 6-month swing. But here it is, Hoity Toity by Long Dog Samplers, stitched on 18 count Regency by Picture This Plus. I started this December 29th, 2021. And here it is. And looking at it, I'm like, why didn't I just finish the page? But there's a lot in here and in here. So next time, I know I did the house. I think I completed all the black and then I stopped. Maybe I didn't even complete all the black. But I, maybe next time my plan will be to get a page finish. I mean, it's huge, as Long Dog tends to be. You know, it's a journey. It's a process. It is not, if you are a progress stitcher and you are stitching long dogs, I would have to imagine long dogs are the only thing you're stitching, because the charts are great and they're easy to see, but oh boy, they're long. There's a lot. So, so just gonna give it a little more love the next time, because it seemed like it went so long in between me working on them. And sometimes that's just what happens because it's a tiny decisions wheel, right? And it's random. So it randomly may choose it at the very beginning. Like I reset the wheel and it may be one among the first things that come up. And then I have to get through all of those projects, reset the wheel again, and then it may come at the end of that most recent reset. So it could months and months and months go by. So they're the projects that I'm trying to spend some time with because I just want to move them forward enough. So I'm sure you all understand what I'm saying. Like you don't want to see anything just fall by the wayside. You want to give it some love. Next, Mini Christmas Bells by Artisy. Designed by Tarina Clark. This was a freebie. Believe it or not, she does all this work and then gives it away free. I am going to be the happiest person when I am done with some of this green because, oh boy, the green. My little thing just fell off. Look at all that green. But look, no back stitch. And it still looks so good. The further away you get, the better it looks. This is stitched on 18 count Legacy by Picture This Plus, and I started this February 2nd, 2023. And I love this one. Brings up a question, however. Pattern Keeper people. So I've heard like 3 people say they don't like Pattern Keeper. I've heard like 30 million people say they love Pattern Keeper. So I have a question. First of all, I'm an Apple person. So iPad, iPhone. I actually have 2 iPads. One iPad I use daily. One iPad I use just to film for you guys because this way it doesn't take up all the space on my other iPad. But I also bought a Samsung tablet. So we got through the growing pains of, I had Pattern Keeper on this very old, very cheap tablet that kind of started going. So I bought a Samsung. Then I couldn't export the progress because the old tablet wouldn't stay charged long enough for me to complete the process. Wouldn't stay charged, wouldn't take a charge. So I had to like kind of manually check my designs, like what you can see with the progress I had on Pattern Keeper. Got that all worked out. Now my question is this though. I have one statement and one question. We put a man on the moon almost 60 years ago, right? Why can't we get Pattern Keeper on an iPad? Why do we need a Samsung? Why do we need a tablet? Why can we not get it on all operating systems? So if you're computer literate, please let me know because I feel like, why can you only get an app on one type of device and not on the other type of device? So if you know, please let me know because I am definitely ignorant to that kind of stuff. So I appreciate that. Now the question is this. I noticed with this. So on your iPad, you highlight a symbol, it all lights up. I find I'm still missing symbols and I don't realize it until I go to the next color. I'm like, oh, wait, that should have had a blue circle symbol. Why is that not what happened? But it's marked off as if I stitched it, but then on here it's not. So I'm still missing. I mean, is it simply because for 40 years, just about, I work from a paper chart and I'm very comfortable with it, and that's why Pattern Keeper isn't making me jump up and down for joy? Or am I doing something wrong? Is there a way that you guys are working with Pattern Keeper that I'm unaware of? I pretty much light it up, light up the colors, the symbol, and then maybe every square or 2 squares, I check them, mark them check, so they're not lit up anymore. But I still miss some. Either because they're outliers and might be in that square and I miss it, or I say, oh, I'll get back, it goes this way and then it goes this way and I never get back to this way, but then I mark it as if I had. Let me know your secrets, because I want to know, because I may go back to paper. I don't know. So let me know. Maybe I'm just misunderstanding the entire situation. So, and that could be the case. So the last one was a whip. Stitch Every Day by Hands On Design. It is stitched on 20 count light orange rust Lugana, and I started it on October 4th, 2022. But it became a finish. And a couple things. So I had all the words done this last time I started, but I literally started from here, from the stars over, and all of this. This is all specialty stitching. It's pin stitch and Smyrna crosses and all of that. And I started it when I was on this side at the beginning, and it didn't work out. Those specialty stitches weren't even for me, and because they weren't even, it was sloppy looking. So I just filled in, I used the appropriate color, the called for colors, hoping I wasn't going to run out, which I did not, and just stitched them. So now that it's done, I'm happy, but I feel like it probably added a lot of work. Certainly ate up more floss, but I like it, and I'm going to frame it. Kathy shows it as a drum and in a frame. I'm going to put it in a frame, and I'm either going to hang it in my office, or I am going to hang it by my stitchy chair, if I could find the right way to hang it. So that's all the whips and finish. Surprise finish, even for me, big surprise. So let's go on to who I'm watching. I have not watched any FLOSSTUBE in 2 months. And I thought about why. There are 2 reasons. One, I may be a little whip paraded out still. I watched 100 whip parades, maybe more. So that could be it. The other thing could be, because I was having so much trouble with my eyes and my contact lenses, and we were trying all of these different lenses and all of these different approaches, I think it was just hard for me to go from like looking down at what I'm stitching to looking up at YouTube, at FLOSSTUBE, and looking down and looking up and looking down and looking up. So I think that may be why. I'm going to make a concentrated effort to get back into it and to go back to some of my faves and maybe even some new ones, so that I have somebody to tell you to go look at. But I will tell you what I am watching. A lot of the podcasters that used to just be like podcasters, you would listen, you couldn't watch. Now you can watch. They sit there in front of their microphones and you can watch them. So Crime Junkie, for instance, is one. I watched something called Clues Podcast with Kaylin Moore and Morgan Absher. They dive into true crime. A lot of times they're solved, sometimes they're not. And they give you the clues, and they give you what's going on all the social media forums and all of that kind of stuff. And Kaylin Moore also does another podcast called Heart Starts Pounding. And it's a lot of different stuff. When I was at the gym today, I was listening to one that's kind of old. I think she said it was around Christmas time of 2024. so a couple years. And it was about things you are sure you know. The Mandela effect, I think she called it, as in Nelson Mandela. Like in the 80s, everybody was sure he died in prison, and everybody was like, but they saw it and they knew it and whatever. Well, he didn't. He didn't die until not that long ago, maybe last decade or slightly more. And it's that kind of thing. Like, for an example, she was talking about Fruit of the Loom and how everyone swears that there's a cornucopia in their logo. And everybody's like, of course, I asked my father when I was a little boy, what's the brown thing in the Fruit of the Loom, you know, back of my t-shirt thing. Well, that's a cornucopia, son. There was never, ever, ever, ever a cornucopia in Fruit of the Loom's logo, ever. But millions of people swear there was. That's the Mandela effect. So she breaks that down, and she goes through 3 examples just in this podcast of how that was solved, let's say, where the confusion came from and why everyone thinks that. So it's very interesting. Also, I started watching / listening to a podcaster. Her name is Cheer Denise. And what she does, what I was listening to, is she reads a book. She's a little controversial by her own admission, mainly because she has these opinions. And they're not always the most popular. They're her opinions, but she can't just read you a book because there would be a copyright issue there. So she reads a couple of paragraphs, but then she has to say something. Like, it could be as simple as, what are they talking about? To really giving you her opinion on something. And the book that I listened to her read was called Ask Not by Maureen Callahan. It's a story about all the Kennedy women and the men who ruined them, essentially. That's what it's about. It's a Kennedy man bashing story, but it has Carolyn Bessette in it, it has Jacqueline Kennedy in it, has Joan Kennedy, a little bit on Rose Kennedy. So I probably wouldn't have read it, but that JFK Jr. love story was on, whatever it was on, Hulu or Netflix. And there was so much hubbub over that. It just came up in my, watch this. So I watched one episode and I decided, hey, she wants to read that to me. I'm here to listen because I'm just sitting here stitching. So read away. It's kind of like having an audiobook, but occasionally if you look up, you can actually see the person who's reading. So that's who I'm watching. My plans are to just carry on, make progress. I really like making progress. I don't think I'm going to start anything anytime soon, with the exception of the USA tier by Erin Elizabeth that I bought for the July 4th holiday, for the big anniversary. And I am probably going to start working on that towards the end of May, and we'll do it until it's finished. The Valentine's tier took me a week, so the USA tier will probably also take me about a week. So that's the only other plan. It's the little things. So we talk about things we are grateful for, little things, allergy medication, the snowplow drivers. We've had a lot of interesting ones and fun ones. But I have a big little thing because my little teeny weeny granddaughter was born on March 22nd. If you recall, my daughter-in-law was on bed rest from her 23rd week on December 30th. Complete bed rest in the hospital. And she delivered on her full, complete 35th week, 5 weeks to the day, before the baby was actually due. The baby's actually due April 25th, so Saturday is when she's due, and she's been here for 5 weeks. She is good. Her name is Bryn, and she was born 5 pounds 4 ounces, 18 inches long, so good healthy weight, good healthy size. She was in the NICU for a few weeks, as my son says, learning how to baby, and I liken it to getting a job that is going to start at the end of April, and suddenly they call you in at the end of March, and you must begin then, and your training isn't complete, so you're a little confused about things, and that was her. Her lungs were formed, perfectly formed. She just was having a little bit of a problem remembering to constantly take breaths. So they put her on a CPAP, which just made it easier for her. And if you know anyone who uses a CPAP, you know, like sometimes it's like sleep apnea, right? You know, the people that have apnea don't take normal breaths, and sometimes they don't take a breath for a scary amount of time. And then they take deep breaths and catch up. Well, for her little body, it was causing her heart rate to go up, and her respirations were all crazy, and they just wanted to help her. So, little mask on a little face, heartbreaking to watch, to see, but she's fine, she's good. She came home after 3 weeks. She was in there an additional 3 weeks, and the last time was because the main reason at the end, she had been off the CPAP, and she was nursing, and they were supplementing her, feeding with like fortified high-calorie formula, and she did a lot of sleeping, and she didn't come home because she failed her car seat test. So to me, a car seat test means you're too little to fit in the car seat. No. That is not what it is. Things have changed so much. You know, when I had my kids, you're like, okay, it's been 48 hours. Good luck. See you later. And out the door you go, and nobody even checks to see if you have a car seat. And I know that was true when I was born. You know, they could have put me on the roof and they still would have let me leave. But anyway, so now you need to, for 90 minutes in that car seat, she needed to have oxygen saturation levels above 90. First time she only made it 6 minutes. So then they don't do it for a couple days. Second time she passed. So they said, okay. Like my daughter-in-law went one Monday morning to sit with her. She wasn't in the NICU anymore. She was in like a step-down unit, you know, kind of where they could just keep their eye on her. And they're like, hey, so you ready to go home? And she's like, okay, well, my husband's at work. I mean, I drove. I can drive home. And they're like, yeah, and you have 72 bottles of milk to take with you. Because in the, you know, when she had the CPAP on her face, she couldn't nurse, so they were feeding her via a feeding tube in her mouth. I think when the CPAP was on her face, it was in her mouth, and then they put it in her nose. But whatever. So my daughter-in-law is nursing, but has no one to nurse. So 72 bottles and one 6-pound baby later, and she made it home, and everybody's fine. She's a little teeny weeny peanut. But she's perfectly healthy, and she's bossing them all around, and my little grandson is very happy. He calls her his little baby sister, so that's very cute. And little, he ain't joking, little. So it's funny what difference a couple pounds make, right? Okay, book talks. Book talk. 3 books, one of which I have been struggling to remember what this book was about. 7 Reasons to Murder Your Dinner Guest by K.J. Whittle. I listened to it on audiobook, and for the life of me, wait a second. I know how I can figure this out because I listened to it on audiobook. All right, let's just see what it's about. Oh, right. This was a good one. So 7 strangers meet at this odd restaurant for a invited dinner, and they have no idea who their host is, and they have no idea who each other is. But at dinner, each person is given a card, and on the card it says, you will die at age whatever age. And one by one, that's what happens to them. And it whittles down until the end of the book. Very interesting. It was very good twist at the end. It got a little wordy, a little in the middle, but pretty good. Next book, Murder at World's End by Ross Montgomery. I read this. I waited a long time for it to come in from the library because apparently there was a lot of talk. This is a new book, 2025, I think. And it is about, it is set in 1910, at the time that Halley's Comet was here, and there was the panic that the world was going to end because Halley's Comet was going to hit the earth and destroy mankind. So this Viscount in this big house on this big island that he had all to himself, he had all these invited guests and family, and he said, we are going to be the only survivors. And the staff had to like board up all the windows and doors and fill every single crack and opening, and they even got like around their doors, they put like cotton wadding. Nobody could get out. Everybody got locked in, and next morning Viscount's dead. How'd that happen? Classic locker room mystery. I will tell you this, I probably skipped about 2/3 of the way through the book. I skipped about 40 pages because I was like, all right already. And it didn't really change anything at the end. So take that for what it is. It was okay. Could have been shorter. And I just finished listening to Missing Child by Patricia McDonald. That is an audiobook. I listened to it on audiobook. And I believe that book was actually written earlier than it gives you the impression. Like, it talks about cell phones and all of that, but I don't know what gives me that feeling that it was before that, when it was published. Let's go back to the old Google box and see if it says it. 2013. Okay, so I was wrong. This was a really good one. A stepmom, a woman marries a man with a 2-year-old child or 3-year-old child whose wife was killed in a hit-and-run accident. She becomes the stepmom, and she loves this kid and whatever. She takes him to school one day because his school is having science project day. So all the parents are allowed to go and whatever, and her husband's a lawyer and he's in court and he can't go. So she goes, and the school ends up calling like not long after. She walks in with them and she looks at the science projects, and she leaves and she goes to work. She gets to work and they're like, why is little so-and-so not here? So the child is missing. And that's the premise of the story. And it's really, really good. Lots of twists and turns, and lots of interwoven character storylines. So really good, worth the listen. Not that long, not as long as some audiobooks are. So, binge talk. What am I binging? Scarpetta on Amazon Prime, starring Nicole Kidman. So if any of you are familiar with the Patricia Cornwell books about Case Scarpetta, the medical examiner, that is who Nicole Kidman plays, Case Scarpetta, and someone else plays the younger version of Case Scarpetta. A lot of repeat characters, both in past version and now. And very interesting. I don't know if it was the end of the first season and we watched it all, or if it was just we got caught up and there hasn't been a new one out. But very, very interesting. And again, Nicole Kidman could stand there for 8 episodes and blow her nose, and everybody would say like, oh my God, that's so amazing. So she's very good in it, and very good storyline. So that's what we were binging. So now to my new segment. And I really want to know what you think. Tell me the truth. So I was thinking about doing like a true crime minute, stories to stitch by. I know people like true crime. And I was thinking of limiting it to New Jersey, like local to me, maybe Philadelphia, you know, interesting stories. And I actually recorded one last week, but I've been thinking about it. And I think one, if you guys decide it is a good idea, this one may be a little heavy to start with. I chose it because it's so relevant and changed so many laws that and it happened in New Jersey. I felt that it was a really important story to tell, even though a lot of people probably know it or know of it. But not really sure. Might be too much too soon. And do you want that? Like, I'm going to film it separate, but I'm going to attach it. So I'll say goodbye and then I'll appear again 3 seconds later telling you the story. I think I did that one in 9 minutes. So do you want that or do you not? I will not film it separately and upload it separately, and here's why. It drives me crazy when people, whether they're floss tubers, crochet people, book people, any of that, record almost daily or at least weekly, and you're like, what could you possibly have to say? Like, now what? You know, or they come on to show one thing or whatever. That's just not my gig, and I don't ever watch it. And what I end up doing is really not, I really end up avoiding them altogether. And then I don't watch what I was watching before, like say their normal floss tube or their normal book tube or whatever, because now I'm annoyed because every time I go to my homepage on YouTube, you're there with something else. Save it, mush it all together. That's what I say. So that's what I want to know. Either yes or no. It would be attached at the end. It would be short, and it would be true crime because I am interested in true crime, and I honestly think that that's something interesting to stitch by. Like, it keeps your attention, but it doesn't take your attention away from counting or whatever. So let me know down below in the comments what you think. Don't forget about It's the Little Things. Tell me what you are grateful for. And I thank you all for sticking with, and we made it under 40 minutes, so it's a win. And I will see you next time. Bye.